Okay, so next up, Child's Play 3 from 1991. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in this movie, but the simple fact about it is Chucky's back, and this time he's terrorizing Andy Barclay at a military academy. Now he's got this new body, and he doesn't necessarily need Andy's body anymore, and now he's kind of targeting this other younger kid at the military academy, and it's kind of up to Andy to, I guess, stop Chucky from taking over. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think the general consensus for a lot of people, at least for a long time, was that this was a bad movie or a very mediocre movie, definitely in comparison to the first two movies. And I think as time has gone on, I think people are just appreciating it a little more and more. I mean, if someone asked me 10, 15 years ago what I thought of this movie, my rating was probably 1 or 2 scores lower than what I would give it now. And that's probably because I've seen a lot more movies now, and I don't know, just over time I've realized that even though this movie, it's got a really rushed story, and we all know that because it was released 9 months after Part 2 was released. They just quickly went into making this movie after Part 2 came out. Because I guess, a lot of people were paying to see Chucky, and it was a bit of a moneymaker. But so even though it's got a fairly rushed story, the story's kind of stupid in a way, it's still got Chucky in it, and that's the main draw. And I think there's still a lot of really enjoyable scenes in the movie.
Yeah, so I do agree with the common consensus that this movie isn't quite as good as the Foster Saget movies. But I will say I was somewhat surprised by how much I found myself enjoying this when I last saw it. I mean, and this is one of those movies that I saw 3, 4, 5 times when I was a kid. Just maybe not even the whole movie. I just returned it to AMC one day, and they just watch a few segments, and I'll just turn it away. And so it's a movie I'm very familiar with, and I enjoy quite a bit of it, to be honest. It's not necessarily amazing, but I think it does get the job done. I mean, there's plenty of there's some decently gory scenes. I did like the guy who got crushed in the garbage truck. That was pretty decent. Of course, probably one of the most talked about scenes is the whole war game sequence with real live ammunition, which of course you have a wonderful Montos commercial based around that, so it's some quality stuff. Overall, I think it's pretty decent. I like most of the characters. The only character off the top of my head who I didn't really care for was I think his name is Botnick, and he was played by Andrew Robinson, who if you are familiar with Hellraiser, he actually played Larry, Kosty's father. He has a so stupid, I forget if it's a mustache or a beard, but his character's a bit over the top for me. So I'm happy something happens to the character, and I'm okay with it. But every other character is pretty much okay. And probably one of the funniest scenes, at least in my opinion, well, there are actually 2 funny scenes. I like that kid complaining about how the Hide the Soul game was boring. That sort of cracked me up. Oh, I don't want to play Hide the Soul. And also there's a scene involving a heart attack in the movie, which I think is well worth watching.
Yeah. Well, that's, the thing about this movie, and I never really used to think about it too much, is that this movie actually has a wide variety of deaths that, I mean, certainly a lot different to what you've seen in the previous movies. Like I said, there's one where Chucky just jumps out and the guy just has a heart attack. He doesn't even have to kill him, which is kind of amusing. And there's other ones where, you see one guy, he jumps on a grenade. There's another one where Chucky's replaced all the fake rounds or the paint rounds with real live ammunition, and even at the start there's a strangulation scene. Well, that's the one thing about Chucky that I really enjoyed about his character. We know his character's nickname is the Lakeshore Strangler, so he should be strangling people because that's what he likes to do. I don't really see that much of his character moving on. And even though those scenes are quite simple, I think the thing about strangulation is it's like a slow death. You know, it's simple, but it's slow, and there's something that I find about that type of death.
Deeply erotic.
Yeah, it gives me stiffy. So, yeah, I wish they'd have more strangulation scenes with Chucky. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to see a doll strangling someone, but at the same time, we know he's got more strength than what a doll should have because he is somewhat human. So, anyways, I just like that part to the character as well.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that as much as I enjoy that finale for the second movie, and I think I agree with you, it's probably one of the best finales. I also really like this one, where, first they get to a carnival, and then they go to like a sort of a fun house, haunted house type thing. And I thought it was a lot of fun. And I mean, you can tell, like you said, it feels a bit rushed at times, but that finale, I think, is, one not nearly as good as the second movie. I still think it's a pretty good finale.
Just one other thing, one very amusing thing that I'll bring up. When I was a kid and I would go to the video store, and this may be due to just the third movie coming out so quickly after the second, but I remember one time at the video store, I saw Child's Play 2 in the new release section still, but Child's Play 3 was in the weekly rental section, which is the area where the older movies sit. So it's just kind of amusing that Child's Play 2 was still in the new release section, the 1 to 2 night rental type thing, whereas the other one was like a weekly.
It is always nice when you have some nice childhood memories that are related to movies. And sometimes I feel like that can cloud judgment for how good the movie actually is. But it's still valid. Obviously, it's valid. So I know it's one of those interesting things I sometimes think about when I watch movies. Like I said, I saw this one quite a few times when I was a kid. So I'm just wondering if I hadn't seen it until I was like 20, if I'd still give it as decent a rating as I'm going to give it. So just interesting thing to think about.
Yep. Well, I mean, for anyone out there that knows me, Child's Play, the original movie, is my all-time favorite movie. That's a 10 out of 10 movie. And the sequel, I like just as much. I also give that one a 10 out of 10. So, Child's Play 3, it's not as good as those first two, but, I mean, I watched the hell out of this movie still, just like I did with the other ones when I was young, and looking back on it, I still enjoy watching this as much as most other movies, simply for the fact that it's got Chucky in it before his whole Franken Chucky look, which I prefer this look. Yeah, so I give this one a 9 out of 10. If you asked me 15 years ago, I probably would have said like a 7 out of 10, but no, it's a 9 because I can watch this. I could watch this every year, whereas most other movies I couldn't. So I factor that in, and I just enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm giving this one not too dissimilar rating. I'm throwing this one an 8 out of 10. Like I said, you can sort of tell it, was maybe a bit rushed, but I think it has a pretty interesting setting. Military school, cast is okay. Like Jackie said, a nice variety of kills in the movie. And I think it's consistently entertaining. So I think an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's not like amazing, but it's still certainly an above average movie. I mean, and Child's Play 1 and 2 are better movies, but this one is still one that's certainly worth watching in my opinion.